Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the OC Show, Season 2, Episode 14. I'm Truthman, and I'm from OverClocking-TV, of course, and tonight we have our long-time co-host, Timothée. Xiala, hi.
Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Truth, what's up?
Well, doing well. And we have a special guest for tonight, that is Lucky Noob from Indonesia. Hey, Halva, how are you?
Hi. Still quite nervous, okay? So, yeah. How is it going, guys?
We got you out of bed very early.
Really early, so yeah.
Well, at least you woke up. It's not like Peter that was supposed to be with us tonight and that just actually didn't wake up this morning.
Space.
Damn it.
He's gonna come later, he said, but so yeah.
Yeah, but later might be like in an hour or so after the show. Anyway, guys, welcome. If you are joining us on the live chat, we're gonna be monitoring that all evening. I see that there was some of our friends, Fire Killer GR, that is actually about to go to bed because he's still living in Europe, in Greece. So it's
Don't go to bed. Don't go to bed. That's a serious mistake.
Just stay 1 hour more. That's gonna be fine. Hi to Sophos. Sophos, our friends working at Gigabyte, and we have Aldo Saro from I think it's from Italy, right? I think it's Italy. Anyway, welcome, guys. Don't hesitate to let us know where do you come from on the live chat. We'll be monitoring all the questions. If you guys already saw the episode 14 that we did publish earlier this week, you can ask us any question regarding that episode. And don't forget that tonight we have our special guest Lucky Noob, and you will be able to ask him kind of like any questions by the end of the show. Whew, that was quite a fast and long introduction. Sadly, it was supposed to be the special online competition update with PJ, but we might not be able to do that with PJ. We will do it ourselves. But the few topics that we're gonna have tonight are the so as I said, the competition update. So what are the competitions that finished? What are the competitions that are still going on? And what are the competitions that maybe will appear later in the next few months? Second topic, and one that I really liked because it's something a bit new. It's controlling the Epower card, the external VRM PWM card, especially on the RaspberryPi. So that's going to be a new way to control the Epower without the EVBot. We're going to go back into that in details in the second topic. We're going to have some talk about the thermal paste, the applications, techniques, and the different thermal paste that there is. A lot of discussions going on. I have a lot of questions for Lucky Noob, although on to know exactly what he's using and stuff like this. And the last topic of the day will be the few discussions that we could have on the state of overclocking for all the Indonesians. Before jumping to the online competitions, Lucky Noob, can you just present a little bit more about yourself? You are a world top overclocker, but we all know you come from Indonesia, but that's not it. There's more than that.
Okay. Okay, so morning. Hi guys, it's morning here in Indonesia. My name is Alpha Jonathan. You probably know me as Lucky Noob from HWBot and a lot of other overclocking forum as well. And I have an overclocking site called jagatoc.com that actually been live for about like 2 or 3 months or so, which is probably will be going more in depth about the site after this one. And then that's pretty much about me. So, come back to you.
Well,
welcome.
Welcome to the show.
My brain is still booting, perhaps.
As you say, you're living in Indonesia, and you have your own website. Of course, we're gonna go back to all that a little bit more in details. But that's actually your job to be an overclocker.
Yep.
that must be true.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically my job is to be an overclocker, and then I do an overclocking stuff, like I overclock motherboard and I tell people how to do it, make it like some guides, and besides making some guides, I do like extreme overclocking test also, and then also following a lot of overclocking competition, both live and online competition. And as you can see, I have my own small overclocking lab, and which I have quite some hardware behind me, and then
quite a pile, I would say.
Okay. So basically that's the one that probably I'm going to do some like overclocking guides and make maybe tell some people how to build an overclocking PCs and how to choose their components and and so on. But because my site is in Indonesian, and then my focus is for Indonesians usually overclock really cheap hardware like the Pentium Anniversary Edition, a lot of EMDs, APUs, because for some Indonesian that buys budget PCs, that's what they're looking for. And overclocking is still a way to increase the performance for free. So, well, more performance, why not?
Yeah. Awesome.
That's actually excellent. Let's go to the few competitions that finished in the last few weeks. Actually, for the last 2 weeks, that was the Rookie Rumble 20, as well as the Rookie Rumble AMD 17 that finished. The Rookie Rumble 20 was actually finished like yesterday evening, I think. Yeah, yesterday. There was 284 overclockers competing in that competition. That's always impressive to see how many rookies. So the rookies are the people that have signed up for that had signed up for an account on HWBot for less than 3 months. So there's more than 284 people that did sign up in the last 3 months that did compete in this competition. There was XTU, HWBot Prime, and GPUPi for CPU. And if we look at the ranking, the winner for this Rookie Rumble 20 is Elva Becerra, I think from Italy. And then you have OGM Civil ETC. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. And we had the French guy Ziken. Good to note that BritoFlex 21 was actually 4th, but he managed to be first in stage 1 and stage 3. And the reason why he's not in the top 3 is because he didn't submit any score for stage 2. And I do actually have some information regarding all the guys. Elva Becerra is really new. He's one of the most recent rookie. He signed up on HWBot on July 11th. So in less than 15 days or less than 2 weeks, the guy managed to sign up for HWBot, participate in his new competition, and although even managed to finish first in this first competition. So that's actually quite interesting, and he got a total of 117 points. I will check a little bit more about what the guy was testing. He was using the he already tested 3 CPUs, Core i3 4370, Core i7 4790K, the Aswell Davis Canyon, and a G3258 that now most people know or maybe own more than one. I think looking up, you own more than one G3258.
Yeah, actually I have still have like 3 or 4 of them. Yeah, that's still alive.
And and this winner of Elva Beresa is actually using most of this submission. We're using the same setup. He was using the Maximus 7 Gene and homemade water cooling. Actually, the radiator was a big bucket of
that's
water.
the style I like. That's good.
Well, that was fun, and I did actually although look at OGMville TC from USA, the second guy. That's not his first competition. That's the second Rookie Rumble he's participating in, and he's now 5th in the Rookie League. The previous competition he was 8th in the Rookie Rumble 19. So that's fun to see that some people that did compete in one Rookie Rumble is actually still competing in the other one. And the last one I checked for the Rookie Rumble was BritoFlex 21, and the way BritoFlex 21 participate is actually now at this date right now he's now in the Novice League. So that was the last Rookie Rumble for him, and he dominated the stage 1 and 3. As I said, he finished first, gained like a 50 point on stage 1 and 50 points on stage 3, and it's fun to see that he's actually he won some of the he was participating in some other competition as well, the RGOC Showdown Formula, but he finished like 146. So that's very lower in the ranking. Of course, there's much more people competing, and the playing field is actually a bit more. And as I said, as he registered in April, nowadays at this time he's now in the Novice League. Novice League, Novice Nimble. Timothée, do you want to speak about that one?
Yeah, sure. No, Novice Nimble is that's the team-based competition, right? So it's a competition where basically overclockers have to join a team at HWBot. So it's actually joining an existing team, not creating a specific team for the competition. So usually novices are guys that have less than 1 year at HWBot, and you automatically transferred, like you were mentioning, Truthman, from the rookies to the novices, and then eventually more. If you make the step of going extreme before the end of the novice, you don't go to enthusiast, you go straight to extreme at that moment. So you leave the novice and you cannot return back to it. So the novices have to join teams at HWBot, and what is interesting is that here we can really see who are the actual active teams that are helping out the overclockers. So usually the case is you join the team and you go on their forums, and some forums, you know, are a little bit more or less active than others. And you can see here that Cockatland, Hardware Radio C official team, Hardware.info, Hellas Overclocking team, Overclock.net, TechLac Terabytes team, the one from Brazil, PC Games Hardware, Hardware Legends, Novice of Singapore, and Heavy Cool Lab of Overclockers. Those are the actually most active teams at HWBot. PC Games Hardware, which is ranked 7, is actually still the most rookie friendly, so that's the team where the most rookie join. This is due to the fact that Germany has a very active DIY market where people build their own PCs since generations and generations, I would say, and basically people kept on the habit. Cockatland, number 1, they're pretty much the most active team in France, and they have a close cooperation with the Clan OC guys, where the guys know each other and bench together. And like this, what is impressive for this novice nimble is that they got 50 points in all the stages, so it means they have the best scores in every stage of the competition. So
massive takeover by the French guy.
Yeah, so so that's really cool, right? Like it's a very very interesting ranking. It's also good to see the Italian guys ranking second. That's something we hadn't seen so far. So I guess now there's an Italian guy winning the Rookie Rumble. You know, that's going to be very interesting for the next coming months when those guys are going to move to the novices.
Actually, regarding the French team, the Cockatland team, of course we know them. Timothée and me, we know them personally because we are French and we did some stuff with them before. I checked a little bit more the scores.
Yeah,
that's actually 2 people doing the scores. There's 3 scores from Astoria. All the AMD, APU, and the cell phone scores are made by Astoria. And Nexus 35. So that's the 2 guys that managed to get Cockatland on the top, on the lead again, and winning this novice nimble again. And the fun fact is, if you check the Astoria score, I think the stage 2 for Astoria.
Yep.
If you check the score and you look at the CPU, the picture of his computer, the CPU color is actually not put in exactly the right way. So it's not even optimized airflow, and it's actually like a dirty PC inside. So that's a good way of saying that, you know what, people, even if you have a computer that you think you cannot compete or anything, just give it a try. Give it a try. See, the cooler is facing upside down, and the airflow is actually fucked up with the graphics card.
On the graphics card. Hey, maybe he's just trying to cool down his graphics cards. You know, maybe that's like cooling back the backside of the PCB. I don't know. This is maybe a new way. Who knows?
But yeah, I found that funny that the guy managed to put out the best score in this competition with this kind of setup. Well, look at him. Did you have any guys from your team competing in the Rookie Rumble or the Rookie Rumble AMD or the Novice Rumble?
Okay, from my team, no, I don't think so, because there's so many competitions, and we had to choose. We want to do all, but we cannot do them because there's time constraint, and we need to write an article about it every time we compete, and then what hardware we use, and the usual, making some guides. And apparently we don't have any people joining in the Rookie Rumble, but I try to encourage like Indonesian overclockers to do some Rookie Rumble and Novice Nimble as well. And I see some really impressive score from the Novice Nimble and the Rookie Rumble. The guys clocking their CPU with the usually what we call a dangerous voltage, but they don't care. They just, okay, I'm just trying to push my hardware to the maximum, and that's an overclocking spirit. All right, so yeah.
Great. There's actually the people making fun on the live chat. But, oh, there's so much dust on these computers. Like Timothée actually asked, "Is this the rig of the week?"
Yeah.
And the guy said, "No, that's the vacuum of the week."
Because I'm saying rig of the week because at H2E14 I'm planning to do some kind of weekly post, you know, where we every time we just go we just post every week the you know, one of the top rigs of the guys with the best picture or something like this. So this is what I'm gonna call the rig of the week kind of series of posts. I'm sure I should post this one, and some people will recognize it.
Well, it seems like we kind of lost Lucky Noob. I will let.
He's gonna come back, I guess.
Yeah, I think it will come back. Maybe you have to call it.
Yeah, we'll call it back. So keep
well,
on
anyway,
going
guys,
in the comms, Truth.
Yeah, I will just continue on going on. The next few competition I want to speak of is the one that is still going on. Is the Gigabyte Last Array. There is two stage. Actually, it's not two stages. Two different competitions. There's one ambient and there's one extreme. Ambient, you should never go below 20 degrees on the CPU, GPU, whatever, even the memory. So you should never go below 20 degrees. And the extreme is like for the extreme guys, you can do whatever you want. On the ambient one, I saw that coldest. So there's like 4 stages, and stage 1 closed just actually. I think that was yesterday.
Yesterday I think. Yeah.
And I saw you looking up. You were actually benching last minute on the extreme one, but coldest benching. Do you know if because he's from Indonesia? Do you know if you have some challenges that coldest bench in the ambient and you bench in the extreme, or it was just like the other?
Are you guys air sharing?
No. So basically, in my office we get like a 3 bench, you know, we'll call it bench station maybe, and then we decided to bench with in the same time, and then it's not like we wanted to do, you know, last minute submission, but I have some pretty tight schedule with my job, and then I only can manage to bench at like close to, like, I think 2 hours from the closing stage. So yeah, I benched the extreme stage and then coldest benching the ambient stage. The challenges is because, you know, our room is not exactly cold, you know, like Europeans, you know, sometimes they have like 15 degrees ambient, and our room, even with powerful air conditioner, we only get like 20, 21 or something.
Yeah, maybe there's too much hardware and there's too many computers running.
Maybe you're looking at the problem on the wrong side. It's not your geographic location.
but yeah, the challenges, I think coldest is really, you know, he likes XTU. You know, he's doing like 2 months full of XTU in the previous Gigabyte Big XTU challenge, and then the challenge is when you want to get some efficient score. Actually, apparently the trick is to run it over and over and over and over again. You know, to get like that 1 point or like 2 point boost. And then he ran the XTU almost like 50 times.
So if you could make a bot that just click rerun every time, and then just sit back with some popcorn and then, so when is that run coming?
But yeah, it's really cool in the especially in the ambient category that they limit the clocks. So overclockers need to, you know, tweak their memory. That's the biggest part of XTU limited clock, and then tweak their the memory, and then they need to tweak the OS. Usually get a really good clean OS. For me, I recommend some people like Windows 10, but I still use Windows 7 32 bits.
Yep.
Some people like the 32 bits or 64, but for me the 32 one give me like 3 or 4 point boost. So yeah, for me that's matter. Yep.
Okay, that's your little trick, I see. So you were competing in the extreme one, right? So you were in the Last Array Extreme. So how did that went for you?
Well, for me, well, that went pretty well.
Well, you won.
No, because, you know, I think Extreme Addict will still have his monster CPU, and then I believe that 6.2 on Geekbench was not his maximum, because he has really
this
good
one,
CPU.
right?
Yeah, one of the best, you know, really one of the best, and he has a really good memory. But I don't know.
Yeah, the memory is so tight. He's like over 1200 and cast 6. It's like wow.
But yeah, I expect that XA probably have some problems with the memory because usually he's running when he has his, you know, he has a really good some memory kits and really go really tight, and then usually he went for like 2 or 2 800 CL6 or something, but this time around he only went like 2 500 or something, 2 500.
Well,
with,
maybe because he didn't need more, or maybe because he didn't have much time to maybe test a little bit more for the challenge.
Yep, and I like the Geekbench though. I just learned the benchmark a couple weeks ago because you know that benchmark is still pretty new for me. Really good benchmark though, because you have a single core score and you have the multi-core score, and then the benchmark is pretty quick, about 65 to 70 seconds on the 4770K, and then you know it's pretty tweakable. Yeah, you know, some changes in the OS really did change some of the scores, you know, by like hundreds or so. Yeah. And then what I did with my CPU, I don't have really good Haswell CPU. I only have like three CPU left because you know I usually have last year I have like 5 or 6 CPU, but some of them already died in the competition, you know, in the country cup and so on. I pushed it too hard, and then I only left with only 6 or 6.1 gigahertz CPU. But still, I'm having fun with it. You know, I don't care if everybody else gets like 6.6 gigahertz CPU. The point of overclocking is pushing the hardware you have. So basically, I push whatever I have, and I'm pretty happy with the results. Considering it's only happened in the last hours of the competition, and usually the impressive part about the Gigabyte motherboard that I use is the memory tuning, especially on the X04 BIOS on the Z97X SoC4 is quite okay for memory tuning. You know, I have to get customized to the motherboard first because usually I use either MSI or Asus. So this is actually one of my first times benching Gigabyte seriously. So well, yeah, that one well. Okay, so I'm happy.
There's a GTI Jason saying in the live chat that XA sold all his good DDR3, so that's just maybe the Skylake effect. The Skylake is going to be released quite soon, next month. Everyone knows the date, so
everybody has DDR4. With having everybody I know that have a really good DDR3 kits are, you know, start selling it, you know, at premium price. They say, hey, I got this really good kit that could go like to 850 with CL6 or something, and then selling it at like 150 or like almost $200. I was like, okay. But probably in a couple months we'll be seeing a lot of, you know, decent DDR4 maybe in the Intel next gen platform. So yeah. Somebody is asking about the Windows 10 RTC bug, but
yeah, actually, I was telling to Timothée, hey, we didn't put Windows 10 in the rundown for tonight, and it's like, yeah, it's true. That's actually in like, from now on, it's like in 3 days, 2 days for you guys.
I think we have it on one machine here at the office. We're trying some stuff.
I asked Peter, and Peter told me that these things doesn't happen anymore because there's a new clock generator that is actually read to avoid that issue. So
it's a new clock generator, so the benchmarks just use the new one, and so for Windows, on their side, they pretty much didn't change shit. They didn't solve the problem at all. They just added something else. Hey guys, here's the one you wanted. Or I don't even know if it comes from Windows or it comes from Intel, or I don't know. You know. I think it came from Intel through the new platform, and then it had the hooked in Windows, and now the devs can use that one, so it's gonna be no problem for XTU on those platforms.
Yeah, because I think XTU for XTU doesn't matter if you use Windows 8 or Windows 10. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just about using the right one. So I guess that should be all fixed. So we're gonna have some new tweaking running moment where everyone is trying to figure out the tweaks on Windows 10.
Yeah, sure.
We'll see
in a couple of days.
How tweakable that is. It would be probably very similar to Windows 8, I think.
Yeah,
the core is pretty much the same, right? Nothing really changes. Mainly UI and a few improvements here and there, but mostly cloud and sync stuff. So not so much of a big deal.
To close down on the last few competitions,
Sure.
one question, Lucky Noob, you have your 4770K, you're at 6 gigahertz. Do you have more room to increase the next few benchmark at the stage?
For the Geekbench, no. That's the absolute limit. I cannot go even 10 megahertz more than that limit.
Well, anyway, you
I
cannot
tried.
submit anymore. The stage is closed anyway.
Yep. So, and also there is still like XTU 5 gigahertz. That's going to be really interesting. And then because in the extreme stage, we're going to a lot of people, putting their memory on coal. And we probably could see some really crazy memory timings. Maybe guys with PSC hitting like 2850 or maybe 2900 CL7 or CL6, and then we'll probably see Samsung in the upper 2900 range. And then for the last stage though, the GPU Pis, also the one that I probably need to push it, because that's going to be multi-threaded benchmark, the GPU Pi for CPU. And right until this moment, I tried many various stuff, and then I didn't find a way to really tweak the GPU Pi. It scales really small with the memory, because the developer, I think Matt from OverClockers-AT, say that the OpenCL calculation doesn't really doesn't need that much memory bandwidth as some of the benchmark like Geekbench or maybe a SuperPi. So tweaking your memory doesn't really affect that benchmark that much compared to other benchmarks. So I need to figure out a way how to optimize that runs. But again, usually after you're done tweaking, it's back to your hardware. So I'm probably hopefully seeing some scores. Actually, when I benched my system like a couple of days ago, I wanted to do all the stages like the Geekbench, and then the Geekbench single and multi-core, the XTU, and the GPU Pi. But in the GPU Pi run, my LN2 ran out. I only have like 15 liters available, because for Indonesian, the LN2 supplier is still on holiday, so they just opened today. So yeah, I'll probably need to try like maybe next week or so. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, there was a holiday in Indonesia.
Yeah. It's Ramadan holiday, so because of
the Ramadan holiday. Oh yeah, okay, of course. So
yeah, it's a big like national holiday, and almost like Chinese New Year in Taipei or something. So
yeah, I saw that was finishing on the 23rd, but you guys like complete the whole week with it.
Yeah, totally.
Guys, let's just make it a week.
Like it's already been 3 weeks. Like just get one more.
Yeah, it's quite hard to get LN2s or even dry ice for that matter.
There's a question on the chat asking how much you pay for it.
Oh, in Indonesia it's really cheap, really cheap. So basically, let me count.
Like water and beer.
In US dollar, it should be $0.75. So it's about 75 cents per liter in Indonesia.
That's freaking cheap.
That's a very good price indeed.
There's a guy called Speedfast. This is actually one of overclockers in Indonesia, in Yogyakarta actually. Hello.
Yeah.
So he's asking about $2, but maybe that's in Yogyakarta. In Jakarta, because we buy in large quantities, we buy it in the tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more you buy, usually the more you can haggle the price down as well.
It's basically usually around 75 cents or to $1 per liter.
Yeah.
Or maybe the most expensive one is probably about $1.5 or maybe $2. So LN2 in Indonesia is pretty cheap. We're gonna come
back to that at the end of the show, because we're gonna talk a little bit more about all the Indonesian OC scene. Guys, don't forget that we're monitoring the live chat, as you can see, and if you like the show, don't forget you can always subscribe and follow us. And actually, I would like to congrats Fritz101012 for just following us right now. Thank you for the follow, and keep up the good work, share it with your friend and so on. No question asked. The last few competitions that are running right now, but we don't gonna spend time on it because that's gonna be running for the next few months. There's gonna be the HWBot Team Cup 2015.
Yeah.
Get in the fight!
Yeah, that one will launch only. Well, it's already launched, but it's a soft launch. The real launch is August 1st, when there will be all the news about it. So I guess we can just keep that for the next episode. Since Peter is not here to talk about it anyway, it's like if Empty Space doesn't talk much. So next week.
Well, as I said, that's gonna last for quite a long time. So we're gonna have a lot of time to talk about that. Although the old school is beta school run 3 and 4 that are actually going on right now, and they've finished like mid-August and late August. So if you like all the crappy old hardware, you can always go on ocesport.io and find the old school is base school run 3 and run 4. As I said, when this competition started, I bought a P4P800 SE motherboard, but as I don't have any CD-ROM player, I cannot even install the system anymore because I don't have any CD player anymore.
Wait, P4P800.
Yeah.
That's a really good motherboard for
that's a very good one. I took the special the special edition that was the exact same one without with like I think 2 or 3 phase less. What I wanted to do is to change all the caps and change all the PWM system, because that's the main limitation on this kind of board at this time. So, well, if you like the old hardware, just go to ocsport.io and go to OSIBS. Old school is best school run 3 and 4. Last competition to talk about was the RGOC Showdown Formula Series Run 2 that closed just a few days ago. And we saw some people from France once again, NVIDIA Forever 2 to finish on the top of the ranking. That was Wanted from Belgium, if I'm right, on the flag.
Yeah.
And there was 2 Indonesian on 3rd and 4th place.
Yay! Yay!
So you're happy to see some of the Indonesians participating in all the competitions online, I think.
Very, because partly because those 3 and 4, the Ivan Chupa, the 3rd one, and the Teza, and the 4th one is actually one of the competitors for our event, the Jagat OC AOCT. It's the amateur overclocking competition, and they're doing really good in the AOCT as well. And then I'm just really happy to see Indonesian amateurs stepping up to the big games like the ROG OG formulas, and really nice also to see them push it in because the cooling is limited, I believe.
Yeah. Like
ambient cooling
on the ambient and water cooling.
Yeah, and I see the Ivan Chupa here has a bucket to make his own water cooling, and I believe maybe there's some maybe put some ice on it, I don't know, maybe, and then to make the temperature like go colder than usual water cooling, and that's probably going to cost you not as much as if you buy a custom. Yeah, that one. Yep. The one with the buckets and with the hose, and then you just need a water block, and then you need a bucket and then a submersible pump. Yeah. And that's actually one of the first water cooling experiment that I do back in couple years ago. I don't have money to buy a lot of expensive stuff, so I use cooling like that to cool my PC to join overclocking competition. So yeah, it's really good to see some Indonesians are pushing it, and also besides the 3rd and the 4th, I believe there's some people also you see the Speed Fastest, the one that's joining us in the live chat, and then there's Arham in the 10th place. So I see a couple Indonesian amateurs are really trying to push it. And then the Speed Fastest is a really good HW bot Prime submission, but probably he doesn't do really good in the GPU Pi because he only used Pentium Gs, and then other people are using 4770Ks. Yeah. But his Pentium anniversary is really good.
Yeah, it was a cool system with the pot and the ice cubes inside. Yeah, really cool.
That's a nice idea. That's a nice idea.
And Truth, he has a CD player for you. You guys should meet next time in Jakarta.
I will just bring my hard drive, plug it there, install it, and go back home with it.
Excellent. Alright, so that's about it, Truth, for the comps?
Yeah, I think that's all for the commissions. Guys on the live chat, if you have any questions about what's gonna be next, don't hesitate to ask us. If you have you have questions about the competition, you can always go on the forum on HWBot and ask all the questions there. If you're watching this video on YouTube, you can just actually comment below the video, and we're gonna answer all the questions in the next episode in 2 weeks. The next topic we wanted to have for tonight was the e-power control via the Raspberry Pi. So that's actually something a bit different from what it used to be. Timothy, can you introduce that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, the e-power, that's the additional power card from EVGA, which you can solder onto, well, you don't need to solder it on everything, but usually it's soldered on the graphics card to replace the actual power design of the cards, which usually are good, but not good enough when you need that extra power for overclocking, especially extreme overclocking. So the guys, what they were doing, EVGA sells this card, and they also sell what is known as the EVBot, which is a little remote. It's red and it looks like an iPod almost, and without the wheel, just buttons. And you connect it to that EVBot, and what you can do is control the different voltages and things like that of your e-power card. Thing is, it is not that easy to actually get hold of one. It seems that, well, you know, stock is limited, and so far the easiest way to grab one is to get one off eBay. As simple as that. That's usually the fastest way to get one. And the guys at EVGA, so Tin from EVGA, to solve this problem, came up with the idea of, hey, you know what, we could use actually anything else that has some kind of I/O controller to control the e-power card. So what he did, he actually published a whole guide on how to use the Raspberry Pi as a replacement for the EVBot. So that little remote. So on the xdevs.com, on that kind of on that blog, he published. So you have some pictures of the e-power card, of course, a disclaimer telling you that you have to know what you're doing, explaining you a little bit of the different pieces that you find on the e-power card, and then a bit of some tech things to
electrical background.
Yeah, because you need to connect a few things, and then after that comes the actual Raspberry Pi part. So there's a little bit of Linux command line to do to be able to execute everything right, but most of it is pretty straightforward. I haven't tried it myself, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. But basically, from the Raspberry Pi, you can control anything the e-power can do. And of course, there's some cool pictures where he controlled everything with voltmeters, oscilloscopes, and power generators. So yeah, that's a pretty cool thing. To me, it inspires a lot of stuff, especially for the future. So it's gonna be quite cool. I don't know. Yeah, that's about it about this project. It's really cool.
Well, thanks for the introductions. If you guys on the live chat do have e-power or have a Raspberry Pi you could use to control the e-power directly, let us know what you think. Looking up, did you actually use the e-power board?
Well, I tried. Failed. No, I tried on the lower end card, like the old plastic card. You know, I've got some working, but not a good score yet. Probably publish it maybe in a couple months. But you know, what's really cool about this project is, you know, if you could make a Raspberry Pi to interface with an external VRM controller via I2C interface, then we probably could see some, you know, some graphic card with I2C control to be controlled with the Raspberry Pi as well, not just the EVGA Epower.
You can control all of the different power cards, right?
Yep, different power cards, or maybe even a graphic card. I don't know, maybe. So as long as they have I2C interface, I think.
Yeah.
Well, for now on, that's only the EVGA power board that can be hooked to it officially,
yep.
And there's only a text mode, so you don't have any GUI. You can just go and, you know, adjust the voltage and so on, like you will do in Windows.
Yep.
But I'm pretty sure that the way to control that it's I2C connections, so it's basically like to the controller. I'm pretty sure that all the power board get controlled the same way. The main difficulty is you have to know what kind of data you have to send to the controller, and this data is actually under NDA. You cannot access this data. That's actually one of the reasons why Tin didn't release the source code for this, because you have all the tables inside. the I2C control, and they are not allowed to release that. So.
Yep.
Oh yeah, because this is proprietary from EVGA. Yeah?
First is proprietary from EVGA, and then I think the IVR, the company doing the chip. It's although on the not on the data sheet. It's some special control thing for the controller and so on. So they don't want anyone to access it unless they sign the NDA. So that's the main reason why it's not. That's the main reason why you cannot control like all the power board with the same thing. But well, I think in the future we will be able. Looking up, do you think that's going to be a game changer for the people using the Epower or any power board?
Game changer, no, but because you know I saw some people that using the Epower already use their EV bot as well. So, but game changer, no, but making it easier, hell yeah. It's making it way easier to make it more accessible for people that cannot find an EV bot like me. And in Indonesia, it's almost impossible to buy that kind of stuff. And my Epower, I bought it from Zolio, the Denmark guy. So and it's really hard because in the EVGA store they don't sell to like Asian countries like Indonesia. And
there's a bunch of places.
Yeah, and I actually emailed some of the EVGA guys, tell them I want to buy your graphic card, not borrow. I want to buy your graphic card to do a review, and they say now we cannot sell it to like Asians or something. They say if you have a friend in the US or in the Europeans you could buy, but otherwise no luck. Okay. Because EVGA have a really some interesting product like the new Kingpin 980 Ti. They're releasing a couple days ago, and I'm really looking forward, like just to buy one just to test it to see it's a really good or not. So yeah.
Well, for now on we have the control from the Raspberry Pi, but the Epower is not new. That's something that's been over for what 2 years,
3 years.
Yeah,
2-3 years,
almost more than that even.
So when that was first released, there was the EV bot and so on, but what I do expect is to have like a USB plug on it and to control that way, like we did control the ROG Connect on some of the Asus mainboards. So maybe you can have like your notebook and just control all the software on the side. That would be pretty much be the same, the same concept. And I know that the Gigabyte power board have a USB plug on it, but I don't know if they release anything for it, because actually you cannot even buy the power card anywhere.
I think you can only connect. You can only. It's like the EV bot. You can connect only that remote on it. You don't have the USB access. I think is only for the engineers there. Like I haven't seen anyone using it.
Me neither, but I saw Ikuki posting something about that, like a schematics on how to use it, and I was like, hey, yeah, that could be cool, because this kind of power delivery board can be used by much more people than just the overclockers. Like anyone that want a powerful delivery that can go from like up to like 2.5 volts, and you can do a lot of special project with it. So that would be actually a good a good addition.
Well, especially if you think about USB, it's like you were mentioning the ROG Connect and all that. The cool thing, if you use USB and you have some kind of controller interfacing different input outputs, you could have like an application that would be open source or something like this, where which will give you like a panel of different buttons and toggles you could configure as you want. Like you can move them around on your interface, and then the manufacturers of those different power boards, they don't really would need to release the actual code, right? They could give you a compiled plugin which will go into this application and just communicate with it. So if you are using one Epower, if you are using one ROG power card, and if you are using 1 gigabyte power board, you just load the different plugins and you could use them all at once from the same software, So you would have one USB connection to that controller, plug to all your different power cards, and then from that software on your laptop on the side, you can configure it. And if you think even further than that, right, you could just monitor the load on your PSU with another Raspberry Pi kind of watt meter controller. At what moment the benchmark is adding more power to the, when is more power coming. Then you could actually just program your run, program the adjusting live of the voltages and the different things on your cards. Who knows, why not? Downclocking, upclocking at the start of the specific moments. All you have to do is find a way to automate pouring of LN2.
That would be no fun.
Right?
That's
What's
the thing.
the fun in
Where's
it?
the fun in that?
Yeah, there's no fun. But I mean, if you think about automating the whole thing, if you want to be extremely precise, then you would have to, think of everything. But that would be already a start. Before thinking about automated pouring, the automatic or more like computer-assisted voltage tuning would be very interesting, because you could, every card is different, right? Like every components you have on it, that even though they are the same, you cannot necessarily run exactly the same than the guy next to you is saying he's running. Just because, his soldering is slightly different, or maybe like his ICs are not as good as yours or something like this. So those power cards could kind of diagnose, they could have measuring points, they could read everything out and just diagnose how much you could
There's
actually
almost
do.
no limit when you start doing that. There's almost no limit when you start doing that.
It could automate a lot of the process where you do step-by-step testing, right? And they could just test it. Just like when you go to the garage and they plug this thing on your car and it just, diagnose the engine and the different pieces just by reading all the sensors and, referring to a regular feed. Just figuring out. Why not?
I'm pretty sure that some overclockers will argue that it's not overclocking anymore, and that
no, it's just
like software programming.
It's just another level, right? Like it's just it's still overclocking. The base principle is there. It's just you have to make sure that the fun remains somewhere where it actually should be, right?
Yeah.
But if your fun is actually doing the whole tweaking yourself with your screwdriver and your soldering iron, then just keep it this way.
Just to close up on this topic, the EVBot is not sold anymore on the EVGA website, but they announced the Z10 keyboard where you have the EVBot plug on it.
Yes, it's
I didn't talk about that one. I didn't talk about that one earlier because I saw the keyboard and so on in the lab at Vince, but I didn't know if they were announcing it before. They did actually release the picture and the information from CES and Computex. So right now we can talk about it. That's one of the reasons why there's no more EVBot. It's because they want to sell the keyboard where you have the EVBot built in. Anyway,
which
so
can
that
do
was
maybe much more stuff via USB.
Yeah, so that means you can control stuff, you can input more stuff too, more control, more power.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, it's already like more than 40 minutes we're in this show, and I don't want to spend too much time on the thermal paste and application techniques. This one is actually Derbauer from overclocking.guide. He did test a lot of thermal paste, 47 of them, 47 different thermal paste, and he also tested them on the different way to apply them and the performance under extreme cold. So he was having a special heating system, and that he could test the transfer, the heat transfer between like the heating and the CPU pot. He was testing with cold, although at the same time. So that was one of the most immersive and in-deep test for the thermal paste. And I did actually learn quite a few things, even if I've been using this thermal paste for like more than 15 years. But no, still, it's like, wow. And it's like, 47 different thermal paste. I don't know how long that took him, but I think quite a few months.
Yeah,
that's like the most impressive of, in my lab, I test like quite a few, like only 4 or maybe 5 thermal paste, but when I heard that he tests like 47, it's like, wow.
He basically, what he said, I think he said he just went online, looked for thermal paste in Google, and pretty much bought all the different models he could find.
Yeah,
even
that's really
the liquid metal.
Yeah, even liquid
it's
metal.
really impressive, I think, yeah.
But it's good, if you want to make it very fair, you have to test them all, that's the thing.
Looking at what kind of thermal paste are you using for like regular system and the air cooling one, the LN2 cooling ones?
Okay, so basically in the lab we have 2 thermal paste that we're using. The first one for like air cooling, and then for our everyday usage we have like Noctua NTH1. That's pretty good, and the one that why we are using Noctua is because you don't have to really spread the thermal paste. You just have to put like a dollop or maybe like a point or something, like a bit of little piece, and then it spreads alright. So it's quite consistent with our testing. So that's for our like air testing and maybe water cooling testing. But when we do some series overclock, we use the Gillette GC Extreme. And my method is using spreader. So you could use an applicator, or you could use like a used credit card. That's the one that I usually use to spread the thermal paste in either the pod or either the CPU. And why I do that is because when you spread the thermal paste, I get really consistent results. And when you do an overclocking competition, like live overclocking competition, where you do have like a limited time to set up your system, the mounting is pretty much everything, especially when you when you're dealing with the high load CPU like Haswell E's, Ivory Bridge E's, a different contact in the thermal paste won't make you, will give you a lot of problems, especially if you bench like Cinebench, that's really put your CPU in a high constant load, and then that's why the application of your thermal paste is really important. For me, the one that works is when you spread it evenly on the pod or either the CPU. But some people says that they just put some in the CPU and it works for them. Well, for me, the spreading part actually works. So yeah.
Actually, before I saw the video, I was actually just putting a big like a nut of thermal paste on the CPU and just putting that on it. Only for the LN2 or extreme cooling, I was like spreading it through the CPU. And when we had the talk before starting this show,
the cross works really well actually.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Actually, the cross is if you don't want to spread it all over it, the cross is the most efficient one.
Yep.
So from now on, I will use that technique. But what I was saying is when I used on the CPU part, when I was still doing some LN2 overclocking, and I was spreading through the CPU. And when we were talking with you, looking at before the show, you were saying you prefer spreading that on the CPU part rather than the CPU itself.
Yeah, because in the competition we only get like 1 mount, and if you get it wrong, then you probably have to troubleshoot your system, and that's going to cost you the competition. Definitely, you cannot afford a remount in a competition, especially a remount because you don't have a really good contact with the pod. That's really crucial. Yep.
So you use pretty much this one we're seeing now, where you spread the whole thing everywhere and then you just put it on top, or you spread it on the base of your pod. Then
it's if the CPU has really large heat spreader like the Haswell E, I spread it on the CPU. But if the CPU is really small, like the 4770K or maybe like smaller AP, some of the EMD CPU, and then I spread it on the pod. Actually, some people are probably don't want to spread on the pod because it costs them a lot of thermal paste to do that, and afterwards you cannot use all the remains. So yeah, for some people maybe that's if you spread it on the pot or your water block, it's probably getting quite expensive maybe for them.
Yeah.
So it was fun to see the liquid metal too, because the liquid metal, some people say, oh, that's gonna be the best and so on. That's actually extremely hard to apply.
Yeah,
it's the worst one.
The problem it's liquid, right? That's the different thing with if you use something that's a little bit more solid. Like this one, just like it just goes everywhere. And the problem is that liquid metal is actually conducting electricity a lot more than the regular paste. So if you get some on the side or on your pins, or you're screwed. Completely screwed.
Yeah. But that was very interesting to see like all the different comparison and
it's a very cool video. So if you guys want to test it, check it out. Look up thermal paste application method 2015 on YouTube. And that one was made by Der Bauer, so Roman from Germany. So really cool stuff.
Yep. So last topic of the day, that's more like a debate, and that's one of the main reasons why we have you looking with us tonight. It's the state of overclocking in Indonesia. As maybe of the viewers know, there's always a lot of competitions happening. There's usually you show up at all the competitions, like the live ones. And it's always good to see you on top of the ranking in Indonesia and worldwide. Actually, you were first in the JagadReview.com Indonesia team. Of course, that's your team. You're also over competing in the Pro OC team, the JagadReview.com Pro OC team. You're the second best overclocker in Indonesia. You used to be the first, and it's always going back and forth and fighting with the other guys. And I mean, you have been in all the main competitions. You are the captain or the JagadReview.com Indonesian team. So for us, it was the best way to ask you like how it is for overclocking in Indonesia.
Okay, so basically we've seen a lot of interest in overclocking in Indonesia. You know, many people saying, oh, okay, so PC is declining, overclocking is pretty much dead. We've seen the exact opposite in Indonesia, because, you know, overclocking is done mainly because you want like more performance for free, right? But some people say, okay, our PC are already becoming really powerful nowadays. You don't need overclocking for it. And well, for some Indonesian, you know, some Indonesian tend to be, you know, budget conscious, you know, PC buyer, and they tend to go for the maximum price to performance value. And then overclocking is one of the thing that's still being talked about being really useful in those applications. For example, I've got a lot of questions in my website, thejagadoc.com, that they wanted me to do an overclocking guide about the APU, AMD APU, because for Indonesian, like some really cheap setup like APU is like $300 to $350 PC is probably the one that, you know, like the college students uses for everyday usage, from gaming to, you know, doing stuff, work and something. And then overclocking those like cheap system, you know, really give you a considerable performance difference. For example, the Pentium G, the 3.2 gigahertz, a dual core, you could easily overclock it with the stock cooling to like 4.2, and it's still safe for everyday usage. So, and you could even overclock it with the H81 motherboard. It's unofficial overclocking though, but still, you could get a really like 60 USD motherboard, and then put it to with the $70 G3258, and then you could get a really fast dual core. So when you just play like an esports game like Dota or like LOL, and then that CPU is going to be fine. Of course, when you have a game like Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed Unity, which has a really high CPU requirement, the Pentium is going to choke on there. But you know, it still have a really good value to overclock a cheap system. So, well, yep. That's
that's good to see that actually there's a lot of people, especially in North America and Europe, says, well, we don't need to overclock anymore because the CPU is too powerful, as you said. And it's actually not true. You can still, even if it's too powerful, you can still overclock for fun. And if you still want to look at this increase in performances, you should actually not go for the top high end. If you go for a lower end system and so on, that's where you have the most margin. And that's I think that's why, like, Indonesia market have a lot of interest into overclocking, because you guys are like, the market is aiming at the low end and mid range of computers, and I think that there's more AMD being sold in Indonesia rather than Intel. I think mainly because of the price.
Yeah, maybe, but some people are actually, you know, in between, you know, when they have the budget to buy the like i5 or i3 and up, then AMD doesn't really have really good value, and because they have a CPU that has a really high power consumption. So the problem is not the power bill, but you need to buy more expensive motherboard when you want to overclock like an FX 8-core CPU. But when you buy like a Core i5 CPU like the 4460, even if it's locked, it has a really good single-threaded performance. So for some people that actually have the budget to buy like the i5, there's okay, we are fine with the i5. We are fine even though we don't we cannot overclock it because it's locked. But some people that are actually going for like the lower end still needs still can use some of the performance increase we found in overclocking. So yep.
And especially on the low end, that's where you're gonna see the most and the biggest difference.
The biggest difference, because in jagadoc.com, usually we try to follow like the highest end hardware as well, but we get asked a lot to make some really cheap hardware overclocking, because and nowadays when you see an overclocking website or maybe just tech website in general, they overclock like really expensive stuff like the Fury X like the 980 Ti, and even like the GTX 970, one of the most popular GPU for 4K right now. And then for me, I think it's okay. You can still get a lot of performance by doing overclocking to your high end, but sometimes when you see like 80 FPS to 100 FPS, maybe if you don't have like 120 hertz monitor, that's not going to make a considerable difference compared to when you have an APU and you got like this middle 20s frame rate, middle 20 FPS, and you overclock the IGP, you overclock the memory, you optimize the memory, you could get easily 40 to 50 percent of FPS gain. And I did this overclocking on my site about Intel HD graphics overclocking.
Yeah, actually, that was my next issue. I was about to ask you. Yeah, I saw the Intel IGP OC guide.
Yeah, because that's article. I made that article because a lot of people are asking, hey, you say the IGP can be overclocked. Is it true? Yes, because some people that buy locked CPU they cannot overclock the CPU multiplier because the multiplier is locked. And if you got if you want to overclock, the base clock is only like 3% to 5%, but you can still overclock the IGPs. And the performance gain from the IGP is quite considerable because you're going from the 25 FPS to the 30 FPS, and still the voltage for those IGP overclocking doesn't really need that much. So even if you have like a stock cooler, you can still do overclocking with that. Yep.
Yeah, I had a question about overclocking in Indonesia. So you said a lot more people than maybe somewhere else in the world are practicing it. How does it work for competitions and events? How do you get involved as a Jagat review, Jagat OC editor-in-chief with that kind of stuff?
Okay, so basically, my site, the jagatoc.com, is basically an extension to the big site, the jagatreview.com. Jagatreview.com is making a review website like the standard tech website, but we wanted to make a really specialized part of Jagat Review, which is what we're doing in the past 4 years, which is being an overclocker. And then I initially worked for Jagat Review, and then they asked me if I could do some, like overclocking stuff, some exciting stuff with the liquid nitrogen and so on. And okay, I'll make an article and write something about it. And as the time passes, I was thinking, some people are asking me, hey, could you make some more specialized guides? Because, we have only like one overclocking category. Yeah. And if you put
it's all in there, so it's hard to find stuff.
It's all in there, so it's hard to find. So that's why we having our own site right now. It's live from I think May, this May 2015. And then what the site is about is all about basically about overclocking. So we cover two major parts. The first part is the overclocking itself. We try to get our hands on every product we could, and then we try to overclock it, give it a guide, tells you how to do an overclocking. Even we do some really basic newbie stuff like how to turn on some automatic overclocking on the motherboard. You can see I have some articles about the OC Genie and the MSI motherboard and some of the automatic overclocking. And the thing is, some people doesn't actually know it were there. Yep, that one.
Yeah,
Genie.
Because no one reads the manual.
Because no one reads the manual, and some people doesn't. Hey, actually, I don't want to go to BIOS. What's going to happen if I'm going to BIOS? We show them how to enter the BIOS. This is the options you need to click, just so they could get extra performance out of their hardwares. Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
and give them.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Giving the settings.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. So giving the settings, and then while we're trying to, there's a lot of overclocking competition in the world right now. In the OC sports page, we try to cover the news as many as possible, because there's a lot of overclocking competition and we cannot follow them all. But for like a really big competition, like the one that the Gigabyte has, the last array, and then you have the MSI Godlike, I think the MSI Godlike, and then the Asus have their ROG OC Showdown. We try to make some news for it and make new people join some competition, because usually they don't join because they don't want it. They don't join because they don't know how to submit at HWBot, how to make an account, or even how to use their hardware. Yeah,
so it's true. It takes a bit of initiation before you actually do it, like a first step. And that actually brings me to the events you guys are organizing. So with the Jagat Review, you organize the AOCT every year. So that's the largest OC competition in Southeast Asia, I would say. So you have hundreds of amateurs every year. You have so what you do also, you have a band list and all that. How does this event works? What it is about? What's the purpose? And what would be your goal for the future for this?
So basically, maybe some viewers are already know that we have an event called AOCT. It's been covered in the OverClocking-TV before. It's AOCT stands for Amateur Overclocking Competition. So basically, this is a live overclocking competition that only amateur can join. So basically, we Jagat Review and some of the sponsor, we make a list of what we think as an advanced overclockers in Indonesia, and we ban them. We put them into the ban list. So we make sure in the one competing in the amateur competition as really amateurs. Okay. But they need to do they need to pass our test first, the audition, if you will. So we need to know that these guys can overclock. So they know the settings, but they haven't been joining like many overclocking competition, like international competition. They have to be really amateur, not winning any national level competition yet. And that's where stuff get interesting, because some amateur doesn't really want to enter competition because they think there's some big names in the competition. If I join, I won't win. But this time with the AOCT, the amateur competition, the playing level are equal. So the interesting part is sometimes when you have a pro overclocking competition, usually the limits is the hardware besides the overclockers. But when we do this kind of amateur overclocking competition, the limits is usually the overclockers, because they need to tweak a different hardwares. And in AOCT, we make something that never been done before. We use 3 different motherboards. Yeah. We use 3 different motherboards from 3 different vendors, and all the overclockers need to get to know each motherboard, how to tweak the settings, how to some overclockers usually get, hey, I use Asus board, so they are good with Asus board, but they are not good at the Gigabyte or MSI motherboard, something like that.
Well, you have people in your team even competing at the high level that have this issue.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, you get used to one board or the other, I suppose. But it's like what is cool also is like they don't have that much time either. When you look like for example top competitions such as MOA, usually it's the whole day, right? Or even sometimes 2 days. So here for AOCT, it runs on several days, but because there's some qualifiers and some teams are eliminated, the auditions, like you were saying, in the end you're benching for each round not even 2 hours, right? So the time is really limited, and if you don't know the platform, you have to be either a very quick learner, or you have to have prepared a lot before and at least read stuff if you don't have the board to practice.
Well, that's the point of live overclocking competition. I mean, for me, live overclocking competition is supposed to test the overclockers, right? Yep. So that's why we're trying to do stuff. We're trying new stuff to make the overclocking skill is actually being challenged in the competition itself. So we use, like maybe I'm not saying when, but maybe if sometime this year we're doing some AOCT, we'll probably trying some bizarre new rules. Maybe I don't know. For example, this is just an example. In overclocking competition, they give you like 2 hours, like 1 or 2 hours to start benchmark, right? So why don't make them limited? Not the time is being limited, but you only get like specific times how to press the start of a benchmark session. So you only get like 10 chances, for example, or 15 chances. And when you blew those chances up, you're done.
Yeah, you've tried your 15 runs, it's over. Just actually athleticism, right? If you compare it to what is it, jumping or what is it? I don't know the names in English. You know, where you have the 3 jumps and long jump and all that.
The triple jump.
Usually they have only three tries, right? And they can either pass the next try if they think it's fine, or if they fail, they can try again. And if they improve, only the improved score count, or the highest score of the different tries. So yeah, that's a cool way to make it a little bit more tense. So you don't run and run and run stupidly. You just, or like you were saying for XTU, where you just have to run it sometimes many times to hit the right run. It would be just based on, yeah, you have to make sure your system is at the best it can do for this run. If not, there's no point to run it. And most of the guys, what we do see in competitions, they run and they stop after a certain. They just run one of the pre-tests of the benchmarks to just see what are the frames at this moment. So they know here it's good. And yeah, if you want to avoid this, then you know.
Yeah, and one of the stuff that we should have in a live overclocking competition is to make the competition exciting, both for the overclockers and the viewers. And for the overclocker side, I think adding some twists to the new rules and then might give you some exciting results as well. Yeah. For example, a couple months ago, we have an overclocking competition. And we didn't tell them the rules. We only told them the hardwares. So
no benchmarks, no nothing. You just arrive.
We told them the benchmark. Okay. We told them the benchmark. Okay. The benchmark is like XTU and Cinebench. And the hardware we're using is like the Pentium G. It's really cheap. The Pentium G358, and then I think it's MSI Z97 Epower or something. And then when they came to the venue, we are having a technical meeting, and then I state the rules. The rules are you cannot enter BIOS whatsoever. And it was like, what?
Say
enter BIOS? So how are we supposed to overclock? I say to them, you can use the Intel XTU to tweak your system. And you know, cool. some of them doesn't really know that XTU could be used to tweak your system. They only know, oh, XTU is a benchmark. They don't know that XTU could be used, and actually primarily used to tweak your system. So that's the challenge. They have to, you know, activate XMP from the XTU, restart, tweak the timing, restart, and there's a lot of, you know, different challenges, and that's what makes competition exciting. If you have the same hardware, same type of competition, and doing over and over and over and over again, and at some point people get bored.
Yeah, and I think what is also cool is well, you guys were doing that in the AOCT last year. It was so you had a 1 versus 1 on stage with some eliminations of different candidates, or you had even some kind of relay racing where you had the different guys. They were all in the same team pretty much, and everyone had 5 minutes on the system to beat one other guy in front of them. Like stuff like this. This is really fun. You know, as a commentator, this is hilarious stuff as well. You know, it's like anything can happen, and if they're doing they were doing 3D on the IGP. You know, like everyone takes care of one point. That this is the only way you can win. So the first guy goes in, does the CPU thing because he is the CPU guy. You know, the other guy goes in, he's the IGP guy. He has more knowledge of this or memory. And the next guy, he's the guy that actually is going to run the benchmark. You know, before that, there's no point to run it. It would be just waste of time, especially because if you only have 5 minutes and you're on 3D Mark. Well, probably if you want to run the whole benchmark, you don't even have enough time, right? So, so it's really cool. It's true. It's a lot of fun. So what would be when would be AOCT this year? What's the plan?
I'm not saying any dates. That's still under NDA. I could get fired if I say the dates. But anyway, we're still.
You guys are so serious.
But you will see some smaller competition as well. We're trying to make something, you know, with some universities. We're trying to you know, make some like small event, you know, to prepare them for the big event. Yeah. You know, maybe we try some other stuff, and people still asking me though, why are we, the Jagat OC, still trying to promote overclocking? What's in it for us? Yeah. So basically, what makes me like and love overclocking is actually I love technology, and by overclocking it, by understanding how it works, how can I tweak it to make it faster. It's actually the thing I do to show my appreciation of the technology. So basically, that's why we still do overclocking. And for me, every time we do a single like tech seminar and we mention about overclocking, you know, overclocking gives you the awareness of your PC's hardware, because you know today it's not like everybody else buying a laptop and be done with it. Okay, that's it. I'm buying a laptop. If I'm going to buy a PC, then I'm buying a laptop. That's it.
It's just a device, yeah.
Even
us. I mean, I own a laptop. I work 24/7 on a laptop. Timothée on a MacBook is working 24/7 on it. But we still have computer on the side to just do some testing. But otherwise, we don't use any desktop computers anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
basically, why I'm pushing overclocking is because for me, it's a way to increase the awareness of, you know, to just knowing your hardware, not just using it for, you know, whatever you want, like gaming or like you doing your work, but you know, getting to know your hardware to make you understand some really basic troubleshooting, you know, in the OS or even the hardware that probably could be useful for those kind of like users. That's why we make jagadosi.com.
Well, cool. Well, there's a nice comment from Ciro on the chat. Jonathan, your way of setting up an OC competition is really cool. Also, it's really thoughtful. I wish we had this kind of support from brands. We always set up OC event in December, but we don't get much support. What would be your advice for overclockers like him in Italy that will be, I don't know, asking advices on how do you pitch something like this to sponsors? You know, where should you start? Should you start making small events by yourself, or how did you guys start it, and how did you find the money for that kind of event?
He's gone.
So,
he's back. Is he going to come back?
So,
okay.
Wait.
So the internet.
You can go. We just don't.
We can hear it. It's okay. The camera's gonna come back. Just keep. You can go ahead.
Okay. Ideas.
Yeah, you're breaking up really bad.
Okay. Okay, let's stop that here. Let's wait like
a few
1 or 2 minutes that Lucky Noob is coming back, because it seems like he's having some trouble with the internet connection. Maybe some of his coworkers are actually
arriving at
the office
synchronizing 300 emails. Happy weekend, everybody.
And we lost him. So the question was about how to set up this kind of stuff. I will personally say, try to do it on a smaller scale, even without the support from the partners and the sponsors, because no one will ever sponsor you if you didn't do anything in the past, if you didn't do anything before.
Yeah, you need some kind of proof of concept. You're still in the screen, Truth. Let me wait. I will just try to call him again.
And don't look after the sponsor at first. Just do some tries for yourself and make sure everything is working all right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If you did it for 5 years, well, that's a bit more complicated. Either you should change the sponsor you're trying to get, or you should change the way you're doing it. It's always difficult to get the manufacturers to sponsor you. You can one of my suggestion or tips would be like, go look somewhere else. If there's no one in the IT industry that wants to sponsor you, too bad, just go somewhere else.
Yeah, well, you can try local initiatives. Sometimes townships can sponsor.
Usually, town or local hardware shops. Local websites, stuff like this. And anyway, like finishing up on Lucky Noob, because I don't think he will sadly come back anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back, but it seems that call is failing.
I had a few more questions for him, especially like what is the question you get asked the most, but I already know the answer, and because he was making fun of that during Computex, is there's a lot of people asking him, can he play GTA 5 every time he's like presenting any hardware, and that was like the running gag at Computex when we saw him, like, oh, can he play GTA 5? Oh, can I play this game, or can I play this game, and so on. And And yeah, it's actually fun to see them pushing so hard on making some new events, to competitions and the guides. And like, there's not that much guide about like overclocking the IGP on the Intel CPUs. Even if the CPU is locked, you can always do it. Well, most people don't do it, especially in North America and Europe, because you don't need to. You always have a discrete GPU, a discrete card. So, and he's back! Yeah.
Hi. Damn it! That connection in Indonesia is really bad. Okay.
So yeah, what was your advice for people doing events on how to approach partners? What is your recommendation there?
Okay, so it's quite a hard part, to start something, especially if your area doesn't have, like a lot of like vendor would actually want to, promote their event by overclocking. What I did a couple years ago, when I was back in college, me and my friends, we collect a couple of hardwares, like old hardwares, like the Pentium 2s or something. We make a small event, small gathering to make some people overclock like old CPUs. And after that, actually, we got lucky that some vendors, hey, what are you doing with the hardwares? Are you using new hardwares? And we actually got some offer how you'd like to use our hardware. It's like, okay. So the hard part is starting something, but for some ideas you might start with like old hardwares. They could be found really cheap, like the motherboard, the CPU is really cheap. And then if you could get some funds to buy like 5 sets, then you have like mini overclocking competition.
Even if it's old generation stuff, that's what you mean, right?
Yep.
Like Z87, something like that, or cheaper.
Oh, yeah, or even way much cheaper. You could in Indonesia you could buy like the socket A stuff, the AMD one, socket A stuff, like really cheap. The motherboard is $5 or $7, I think.
Yeah, you can make cheap competition with that, for sure.
Actually, yeah, I'm trying to save some money to buy those cheap hardwares. If we could get like 10 identical setup. And then if we could get a complete like CPU, memory, and graphic cards, and then if we could get them really cheap, then I want to make like an overclocking competition with the classic hardware. Everybody getting the same hardware, but it's really classic hardware, and they get a limited time to tweak the stuff. The other thing to manage is the venue. If you have some connection at the university, usually they have some events, some tech seminars that we could use like 2 or 3 hours. So and the venue is free, so that's where probably you want to get started.
Yeah. Okay. So try to find a free venue. If you cannot get support from the industry, look at old hardware so you can still make some kind of interesting competition for the guys that attend. Do you think it's also good? So we were mentioning when you were offline that also you can ask local initiatives. I know in Europe, townships or different things like that, they usually support local initiatives or local pubs. Even sometimes, like the guys in the UK did that for the OC Academy. So that's really always cool ways to find a venue. It's a give, right? You bring customers and you use their venue, like things like that. So
well. The important part is you at the first time you approach those vendors, make sure that you show them we have the community and we have people interested in the stuff. So you might have to send some like videos of your event, some like videos, photos, like group pictures with your teammates or like your audience. And then actually, well, we're pretty lucky in Indonesia because not just us. I think besides us, the Jagat OC, I think there's a couple of other people actually promoting overclocking really actively. The group called OC-44.
Yep.
The one that actually won OCT.
Those are the guys that do the TOC, right?
Yep. The one. Yep. So basically, they have their own website, same as us. So their website also. Pretty similar as us. They having like overclocking reviews and overclocking guides and so on. And then they also managed to do some overclocking competition, which is I'm very thankful because usually in Indonesia they don't allow me to compete anymore. for whatever reasons.
You're
so
too good?
they have this. Nah,
You're
not really. I just
too
get lucky
well
a lot.
connected.
Nah, seriously, 90% of the competition I have, actually, I get lucky a lot. Yeah, that one. That's the website.
Yeah.
OC-44, and they're pushing also the community with their own groups, with their own, little gathering, and that's really cool. Seeing many groups of people actually, pushing overclocking, competitive overclocking.
Yeah.
Yep. And then teaching
really
some
cool.
people how to do overclock, either for for daily use or for competitive use. So yeah. And I think you definitely know about Hasan, right? And the Indonesian-based overclocker right now,
Yeah.
Hasan. And I think I've got some people talking to me that he's actually trying to teach some people as well.
Oh, great.
Because I know he's very busy, but sometimes I've seen him trying to motivate overclockers in his place, especially in Yogyakarta.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good overclockers in Yogyakarta, and you'll probably see some of those in the next upcoming competition, the ambient stage or something in the MSI Godlike maybe. And then that's why we have some numbers that the overclocker numbers in Indonesia are growing.
Yeah.
So
you have good numbers to show, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the part besides the number is usually some people doesn't in some communities doesn't really want to learn about the competitive overclocking because the gap between the newbies and the pros are really high, and nobody's trying to actually teach somebody something.
Yeah.
So that's why I was actually a couple years ago when some guys asked me, hey, could you like to teach overclocking to us? I was like, okay, I'm not a really good overclocker, but if I could do anything to help you guys, then I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, that's a good approach.
That's before MOA, by the way.
Yeah. So you were mentioning numbers for events like this. Ciro again on the chat was mentioning about the scores they were doing at those events for the last years and things like that. Basically, trying to get attentions via results, scores, overclocking scores. Do you think this should be one of the criteria on a way of pitching your event to a company, or you should just not focus on the scores at all and just on the community side of things, that you can bring actual people that are potential future customers of the company instead of focusing on scores and records or things like that to try to make it be, more appealing? What do you think?
Well, I think at least that's a start. So
it's always the same when you start doing events. It's always difficult to get noticed, and especially if you do it by your own after some times, and you go to manufacturers, they will say, well, you did that by your own for the past 5 years, so it should cost nothing, right? And no, it's always like a bit tricky to do all that stuff.
Of course, you should never say that you don't pay for the venue, things like this.
Yeah, that's just the basic.
Well, you have to count the time you put into there, right? If private companies would do events such as those, they would charge by the hour. So even if the venue would be cheap or very or free, it's not an excuse for not supporting. I don't even think. The costs are always the trouble. The main thing is to really get people to the event, and show that there's a community around it that really cares. And like you said, try different competition styles, try something different, cheap hardware that costs you nothing. Don't focus on the new stuff that is going to ruin your budget, because for sure if you ask local brands for 10x99 boards, they're gonna say no. For sure. Yep. Even global top HQs and things, they look at it very seriously if you ask for 10 high-end boards, because then they know you also need 10 CPUs. So if it's a $1,000 CPU, that's 10K already. Add the cost for venue, food, this, and then for sure it becomes quickly a big budget. So yeah. Well,
the thing is, don't let the ID go. And always try to do better and pitch that better to the possible sponsors. I have a few more questions for you, Lucky Noob. What is the question you got asked the most in the past 3 months?
Okay, in the past 3 months for my website, the question that I got asked the most is the first one. can I play a GTA 5 with certain hardware?
I was so sure about that one.
That question shows up like 30 times in my email. I was like, okay, this is getting annoying.
Automatic reply. If your question is about GTA 5, please refer to this guide.
So basically, I make a small article. It's in the Jagat review, not the Jagat OC, because this is not overclocking. So for people that ask me if their system could play GTA 5, I was like, okay, so you could download the Cinebench, you could download this 3D Mark, and if you got this certain number, I calculated like 7,000 CloudGate or something, the X10, and then about 3 points or something, 3 or 4 points in the Cinebench Cinebench 11.5, you will do fine in minimum settings. so that's the question I get asked the most. And then the second most is usually about overclocking the chip system. The question I receive is about the AMD APUs, the A8-6600, and then the new A8-7650K, if I remember it right. So basically, those cheap APUs sells for about $90. $90 in Indonesian is really cheap, And then with that APU, combine it with the cheap motherboard like A68 motherboard, that's going to cost you like $60 to $70. You could build a really nice budget PCs, and it's really overclockable because unlike Intel, AMD doesn't have limitation in overclocking in their lower end board. In Intel, you actually have to use Z97. You can still use H81 though. It's an unofficial overclocking.
Yeah, but that's not the official one.
Usually the BIOSes are not so. Yeah, it's not so extensive in the BIOS. XMP support.
And you cannot overclock the memory. You cannot overclock the memory. For its price, the AMD APU and its motherboard, and you could get high-speed DDR3 really cheap. Like the 2132 kits are now selling as like probably $75 or something in Indonesia, the 8GB kits. With that kind of component, you tweak it right, you optimize it right, you get like 40% performance difference easy. So probably that's going to be in my next overclocking build article, maybe in a couple of weeks after I'm done with the competition. I'm probably going to make a really nice article about putting a budget components like $300 or to $350 PC and overclock it to get the most out of it while still being safe, because overclockers in the budget range has really you need to think about the components.
They usually have budget coolers, right? Which
actually,
is
the new
AMD
APU, the new AMD APU overclocks just fine in the stock cooling, but you have to really watch the voltage though. Because if you use the stock cooling, the CPU got really hot if you add too much voltage of it. So, well, yes, there are some settings configuration, or maybe you need to spare some budget, like $20 to buy cheap air coolers. But now there's accessible and easily could be bought by everyone because it's not that expensive. So. Yep.
Well, that's gonna be a good article, especially for the game in Indonesia. They look at what they can do best with the budget. Last question, because it's been an hour and a half for actually doing this show. I don't want to stop it. I love the discussions, but sadly I do have to close up some of the ideas. My last question for tonight would be: what are your expectations for the upcoming new CPU? There's Skylake next week or so, next month. And there's the
5th at Gamescom.
AMD Zen.
I cannot say anything about the AMD Zen because everything about that CPU is still being speculated. I'm really hoping the CPU turn out to be alright.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the CPU turn out to be alright. And then could you hear me just fine?
Yeah, we can hear you. Keep going.
Okay, sure. So, but as for the Skylake, that's going to be really interesting. I have some numbers, but I'm not allowed to say anything about it because I'm definitely under NDA. And then for some overclockers, the Skylake is going to be maybe quite interesting because it's a new CPU. There's some variables that are different. You'll see later. And but probably the DDR4 will make things more interesting. But I don't know, for some overclockers that trying to get the highest clock, I don't know, I saw some Skylake screenshot at like 6.5 gigahertz.
Yeah. There has been some interesting, very high frequency screenshots.
But the most interesting part about the Skylake is how to get the Windows XP support for it, because there's the support for old OS in there is really hard. Intel doesn't actually officially support Windows 7, I heard. I don't know. So basically the supported OS is Windows 8 and 10. So to enable Windows 7, you need like a workaround. Some USB doesn't work, some keyboard doesn't work. Basically installing
PS2 for the win.
Well, yes.
Well,
and
even on the first leaks, John Lamb from HKEVC was running Windows XP.
Yeah, but yeah. So
Well,
there's always a workaround.
That's always
I guess,
tricky because that's always some kind of the first leaks. And he's always the kind of guy to post some. Actually, he's the guy that posts the first leaks usually.
Yeah. Well, the tricky part is I want to see what vendors are actually ready with their Windows XP, because if my guess is correct, not much vendor will be optimizing the setup for XP anymore, and that's obvious because XP is not supported anymore. But we overclockers still use it for the 32 amps, obviously. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how we could get Windows XP support, and then. Well, maybe we could see some changes in the ranking. I mean, in the some hardware rankings, maybe. So
suspense.
Right? Okay. Well, I think that's all for the show. It's like an hour and 40 minutes. Thank you, guys. We had a lot of topics and discussions, and that's a good thing. We only stick to 4 topics. I wanted to put like one more on it, and actually Timothée says, no, that's gonna be 4. That's gonna be enough.
It is enough. We're running out of time.
That's more than enough. If you guys are watching and you just tune in, don't worry. There's gonna be the replay on our YouTube channel. That's gonna be uploaded right after this show ends.
30-40 minutes from now.
Yeah. If you have any questions, you can always ask them on the chat. We're gonna still stick around a little bit more. Timothée, when gonna be the next episode that people can find on our YouTube channel?
So next episode will be shot on next Monday. So this week is gonna be quiet. You have the replay to watch, and next Monday we're shooting the next episode. It should be out by next Monday evening if everything is fine. And we were looking for the next live Q&A. So in 2 weeks from now, we are looking at having maybe some European guys, either Zero here if he wants to come from Revolution Hardware in Italy, or maybe I missed his name, the Greek guy.
Firekiller?
Firekiller, yeah. Stravos, who was also mentioning he might want to swing by. So for sure, of course, if you guys want to join the show, you have something cool to present or to tell us, send us a link, send us an email or a tweet saying you want to be part of the show as a guest. There's always no problem for that. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to you, Lucky Noob. Thank you for waking up that early. I know it's not it's not quite usual.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's cool.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure to have you around. You have, I mean, Timothée and myself, we always talk. We talk a lot about the Indonesian community, and you always impress us. That's actually a good work that you guys are putting out there. A lot of respect for that. For you guys that just tune in or that did watch it on YouTube, you can always watch the replay on YouTube and share that one with your friends. Give it a thumbs up if you like the content that we have. Give it a thumbs down if you actually don't like that the PJ didn't show up at all. And if you have any questions, you can always ask them in the comments below, and we're gonna answer them in the comments or in the next OC show. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Timothée, for doing the production work in the background. Thank you, Lucky Noob, for being with us. And don't forget, guys, until then,
keep pushing it.
Keep pushing it.
Okay. Woot!